welcome back. Thank you so much for being here today. I'm excited to get into today's topic because this is something that comes up a lot with clients and seeing the use of ChatGPT and Copilot, different AI functions more and more with clients, with candidates. So it's been something that's evolving and important and I think helpful. ChatGPT, Copilot, Gemini, they can all be super helpful tools for you in your job hunt, but really important to use them in the most effective ways because they can help you, but they could potentially also hurt you in the job application process. Getting into it, I'm a social worker, I'm a coach, and I'm an HR and talent consultant. I want to tell you guys a story. So I actually was working with one of my clients recently to post a job. And in that process, it was a technical role. We posted the job, and in a 24-hour period, I received 1,100 applicants, more than 1,100 applicants. It was wild. Normally, I do think at this time it is very competitive um, market for candidates. And when candidates are applying to jobs, sometimes like on LinkedIn, you can see how many other candidates applied to the job. So more than ever today, it is just so competitive. But there were some concerns when I posted this job that became apparent as I started looking into the resumes. Initially, I thought, oh my gosh, so exciting, really good. We have a lot of traction with this role. We're going to really be able to find the right candidate and fill a position quickly. But when I took a closer look at the applicants, there were a couple of things that really stood out to me. One of the candidates that applied, um, in their resume, it listed and had language that they previously worked for the company. That was not true. So that's kind of where some things started, where I was looking even closer at the applicant pool, trying to understand what was going on, why there were so many applicants so quickly. Were they real? Were they fake? It definitely was throwing me off a bit. While I wanted them to all be real, there were absolutely some concerns or um, when looking even closer at the applicant pool. Going through the resumes, I noticed a few things that were happening. The resumes looked fairly strong and the experience looked pretty qualified for that particular role. But as I got further in depth, I reviewed one resume, and this should kind of tell you a little bit behind the scenes because there is a little bit of a misconception that as recruiters are reviewing resumes or hiring managers are reviewing resumes, that they're not actually looking at the resumes and at people's experience. This is not true. There are systems that help to filter through applications for sure, but there is still a human behind the recruitment process looking at resumes. But when the candidate pools are so infiltrated where there are thousands of applicants, as you can tell in 24 hours, 1,100 applicants, that's a ton. And if a recruiter has multiple recs, maybe they are managing 20 different postings. Some recruiters handle upwards of 50 to 100 postings at a time. That's an insane amount of postings, jobs that they have to manage, and to times that by thousands of applicants in each position, it is insane. And more than ever, candidates are really feeling unseen, unheard, because they're not able to really um, be able to move forward in the candidate pools because candidate pools are so heavy. So going back to my story, sometimes go a little bit um, wild when I'm telling my stories, but going back to my story in this candidate pool, really looking closer at the resumes, I started going through some candidates and just reviewing the experience and making sure they were meeting requirements. I looked at one resume and I noticed some things that I said, okay, good. check, 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 like good things. And then a few resumes later, I looked at another candidate and I kind of paused a little because I noticed that I almost scratched my head and I said, didn't I just read this resume? Didn't I just read this candidate? I was so confused. So I went back and I looked at that initial candidate. I had to go back and find it, but I went back and I looked at that initial candidate. And sure enough, there was some very key comparable things. So I decided to open both resumes, look at both of them, and compare both of them. As I did, there were some really weird things going on. The candidates were very different candidates. They were from different locations. They were from different states even. They were just different candidates, different names, different emails. They were not the same person. But I noticed that the first job they had listed was the same. The dates were not the same, but the employer was the same. So I thought, okay, that's weird. And going down in the experience, the second job listed for both of them, it wasn't the same. It wasn't matching. So I was like, okay, maybe something's going on with me. Like, let me keep looking. So I went down and I looked at the third job experience listed. Those were exactly the same as well. The dates again were not the same. So I thought, okay, let me take a little deeper dive. I look at the titles of the positions, going back to um, the first job that was listed for both of them. The titles of the jobs were exactly the same. So I thought that was interesting. So I went back to that third experience because those were listed the same. The titles were also exactly the same. So I thought, that's weird. And in a job like this technical role that I posted, it's fairly common to have similar job titles, but to have two resumes of two different people from two different locations and them have the exact same jobs at the exact same places, that's not very common. But just to be sure, I went ahead and I looked even deeper, really just trying to make sure I was looking at their experience, which is what I normally do. So I went in and I looked at their first bullet. Candidate A listed their experience with their outcomes. It sounded pretty generic, but I was like, okay, some standard generic language. Looked at the candidate B, the language was exactly the same. There was no difference. They even stated the same technical experience. They stated the same tech stack that they had listed. It was exactly the same. I went to that second job that was also common. It was also that first bullet was exactly the same. Unfortunately, and this is the experience that I think is happening more and more often, recruiters can really see and they can tell when resumes are not someone's own voice, to someone's own experience. So that was a little bit disappointing. And to be honest, from the recruiting perspective, I had to notify the hiring team and let them know because it was something that was really important to let them be aware of. But as I was letting them know, it really gave me a lack of confidence from both of these candidates that they truly were experienced in the way they were saying. I did not feel like I could trust the validity to their experience because how is it possible that these two people in two different states with two different names, how is it possible that they had the exact same experience multiple times and did the exact same outcome in two different jobs? It's not possible. Your experience as a candidate is just as unique as your fingerprints. Only you have your experience. While there might be some similarities to another person, you will not have the exact same experience. There is no way. Um, for one, you're human and your perception of the world and how you experience it is going to be different than someone else. It just will be. So while the resume may reflect some consistencies with potentially other candidates, your true experience will not be the same as anyone else's. And so this led me to really want to talk about this because I think this is such a common thing that's happening now, unfortunately. And There are absolutely some ways to avoid these mistakes, but what I'm seeing more and more with applicants is a few downfalls of leveraging AI instead of looking at AI or um, your AI partner as a helpful tool. I do think candidates are leaning more in and relying too much on AI in a way that's potentially pretty negative. That's not going to help you. So it's really important to make sure that you guys are all aware of this so you can avoid some of these mistakes. I actually decided to do a little bit of an experiment. I went to ChatGPT and I asked it a few questions. I wanted to understand some of the things that could be happening. What's happening is there's more and more candidates that are looking for jobs and trying to use ChatGPT and AI tools to help them and assist them in their application process because now more than ever, applicants are applying to more jobs and they're not really seeing any outcomes. But they're not recognizing that this is kind of making it worse because more information that's going into ChatGPT ineffectively, it's just outputting um, unuseful information that is unfortunately starting to replicate people's experience and really setting people up with standards language. But I did ask ChatGPT, what are some things we can do to avoid? So let's get into some of the downfalls of using AI a little bit more, and then we can talk about what we can do instead. There are a few downfalls of using AI that is really important to recognize. One of the downfalls of using AI is over relying um, on the AI tool to really take over a lot of maybe what you should be responsible for as a candidate. There's a lot of uses of copying and pasting, which ends up sounding um, very much generic in a resume. There can be inaccuracies when over relying on AI tools. There are some smarter ways to use AI that we will get into, but also I just want to call attention to ensuring that your mindset and your thought process around using AI is really shifting to how can you leverage AI as more of a co-pilot, just like Microsoft now has co-pilot, shifting your mindset to really be how can I have AI help me with my career, co-pilot me with my career, rather than replace some things that I should be doing because we really, at the end of the day, we don't want to lose your authentic voice. That is going to be really key to your success. So, going into it a little bit more with the over reliance, some of the things that I've seen is how candidates are really using ChatGPT or different AI functions to write their resume for them. There are templates, there are different tools that you can use to write a resume, but really a resume should be written by you. Again, like I said earlier, only you have your own unique experience. Nobody else has that experience. Only you have your experience when it comes to your career, which means only you can speak to it. ChatGPT or other AI tools are not human. They didn't have your true human experience, and really important for you to honor your own experience and be able to speak to that. I'm also seeing that you will get noticed in not the best way, and likely you're not going to move forward in the application process. Just like I said earlier, being able to trust that the applicant really truly has that experience, there may not be a desire to move a candidate forward because there's not a trust that this candidate really had that experience. What to do instead? The number one thing I would say is not to over rely on using AI or chat GPT to be your author when it comes to your resume. You really want to use any AI function as more of an editor. Have your resume ready in your own words, send it through or upload it in an AI functioning tool, have it give you feedback. that's a great way to leverage an AI tool. You really want to make sure to infuse personal impact. AI can suggest generic phrases like improved system performance, but really the candidate should be adding their own unique numbers and outcomes. So, for example, improve system performance by 35%, reducing server costs by $50,000 annually. That's just some random language that ChatGPT recommended and suggested. The next thing that I have as a recommendation is to work with your AI tool by giving really detailed instructions, giving better prompts instead of saying, write me a resume, you can instruct it to potentially rewrite the following bullet points on my resume for these outcomes or X, Y, and Z outcomes, just so that your language is maybe more concise. You can give it instructions to use 20 words or less, or under 20 words, or being very specific when you're giving instructions or prompts to your AI tool. The next recommendation I have is for you, going back to that authenticity piece, is really important for you to maintain your authentic voice. What does that mean? That really does mean read your resume out loud. See how it sounds. Does it sound like it has red flags? Read your resume to a coach, read your resume to a friend, a family member, use your resources, people around you. Read it out loud so that way you can hear what you're saying. The next tip I have for you is to avoid using AI tools to mass apply. You really want to make sure you're applying with intention, applying with purpose, getting your resume out everywhere where you've now gone through and used AI to take over your voice. It doesn't necessarily mean that you are going to move forward in application processes any faster or at all. Really avoiding the mass application process and trying to tailor your resumes and your experience with purpose and intention to selected roles that you've really identified are the roles that you have aligned to and roles that you're interested in. Those are my 5 tips. Again, that is using AI as an editor, not an author, ensuring that you're infusing personal impact. You're giving AI better prompts, you're maintaining your authentic voice, and then lastly, you're not using AI tools to mass apply to every single job that's out there. Okay, I do hope that you found some use out of this topic today. I look forward to hearing more from you about how you're effectively using AI. If you have other tips that you think might be helpful to others or that you would like to share with me, I'd love to hear about them. Only you have your own voice, only you have your own experience. You want to make sure that what is on your resume is speaking to who you are, and you don't want any fake information or inaccuracies on your experience because that is really just not going to serve you. Um, I hope this helps you. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Share in the comments any successes that you've had with AI and your job hunt. I look forward to seeing and hearing from you. Until next time.